What does it mean to be truly red pilled? You know, going through social media and going through YouTube and whatnot, you'll hear a lot of people talking about this, particularly in and around about the truth community. When you see people talking about topical stuff in their videos, as I sometimes do, one thing you'll hear a lot of people say is they'll say that they're red pill. They will identify as red pill rather than blue pill. Now, I wanted to do a quick video talking about what does that really mean when people say that they're red pill, and just kind of give you my interpretation of it and the way that I look at it. So the way that I look at being red pill, and I will give a few examples of what I'm talking about, and I'll try and articulate it as best I can. But basically, to sum it up, to be red pill rather than blue pill is to be able to read between the lines. To be truly red pill rather than blue pill is to be able to see things for what they truly are rather than what they should be or what you deem that they ought to be. Say, for example, you're reading a news article, like if you read the newspaper, you read an article that talks about a tragedy or something that happened, something bad. It could be to do with politics, it could be some sort of accident, it could be some sort of violent attack, it could be anything. You read something tragic, you read something that would usually catch your eye, something that's a headline, a tabloid of something really bad that happened. Now, a blue-pilled individual in that instance would read that headline or read that article and would think with their heart rather than their head. They would read it and they would think, "Oh, this is so sad. Oh no, these poor people. This is so tragic. What can I do to help?" and stuff like that. And it would be all. It would be all empathy. It would be all, what does this mean for us? This, that, and the other. Now, a red-pilled individual would read that same article and that same news story, and rather than get emotional about it, and rather than be all immediately empathetic and thinking about like the emotional impact of it and what it means for us and whatnot, a red pilled individual would read that article and they would seek more information. They would be like, hang on a second, how did this come about? What was this done for? And not only that, but a red pilled individual would see that news article and they would think to themselves, why is this particular governing body, this particular news company highlighting this issue other than other issues that happened that very same day? What is it about this story that this particular media outlet wants me to take from it? Because there's always, this is a thing that red pilled people tend to understand more than others, is that when you see something in the mainstream media, when you see something that's reported, there is always another meaning to it. There is always some form of agenda. Like, say you're watching for another example, say you're watching a documentary, and I've talked about you know carefully manufactured documentaries in recent videos, which has gotten me a lot of heat, which is totally fine, by the way. I support free speech. When you're watching a documentary, right? This documentary could be on like a popular media outlet. It could be on like the BBC, or it could be on Channel 4, a really big news corporation that have a lot of powerful people backing them and a lot of powerful investors. They would, a blue-pilled individual would be watching a documentary that is carefully manufactured and carefully scripted and uses things like music and cinematography and stuff like that to carefully manipulate your emotions and tug at your heartstrings to get a certain emotional response from you. And a blue pilled individual would walk right into that head first. Like, a blue pilled individual would think, "Oh, it's so sad. Woe is you, these poor people in this documentary that this event has happened to, even though this same event has happened to so many other people, but I don't care because it's in this documentary and it's about these particular individuals and it's got sad music and, you know, real Oscar worthy cinematography. I'm gonna buy this message and I'm gonna change my life." That's what a blue pilled individual would do. A blue pilled individual would watch that documentary and they would soak it up. Their heartstrings would be well and truly tugged, and they would be willing to sign over their entire life if it meant saving these people from their grief. A red-pilled individual, on the other hand, such as myself and such as I'm assuming my viewing audience, most of you, would see that documentary and we would think, hang on a second, let's just hold our horses. Let's not get too emotional. Let's be rational. Let's be objective here, and let's see the bigger picture. Let's read between the lines. Why is this particular news outlet, why is the BBC, for example, or Channel 4, or any of these media companies, why is this particular news outlet highlighting this issue? There are so many issues around the world that are so much more astronomical than this one, and have so much more of an effect on my personal life than this thing does. But for some reason, this media outlet is choosing to highlight this one issue and is trying to manipulate me into reacting a certain way. Why are they trying to get that reaction? What is their agenda behind it? What is their ulterior motive? And do they have proof for the claims that they're making in the video? Because a lot of these documentaries tend to be just word of mouth. They don't really tend to show a great deal of proof, or if they do have proof and they do have evidence, they tend to sort of manipulate it a certain way. Like they tend to show you it at a certain point, and they tend to show you little bits of it, and tend to highlight the most relevant points from that evidence rather than showing you the bigger picture or giving you more context. And a red pill individual would see something like that, and they would understand that what they're seeing is propaganda. They would understand that what they're seeing has some sort of ulterior motive behind it, rather than just allowing it to tug on their heartstrings and get the right emotional response from them. I hope that I made that clear. And yeah, another couple of examples. For example, say you're with a woman. Say you meet a woman for the first time, and that woman tells you, "Oh, I was beaten by my ex-boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend attacked me and beat me up or whatnot, and I had him arrested." And yeah, which is something that naturally raises a red flag. It puts a certain image of something in your head that makes you want to react a certain way emotionally. And a blue pilled individual who doesn't really understand how to read between the lines and see things from a different perspective, a blue pilled individual would listen to that and they would think, woe is you. Woe is you. You're such a victim. Oh, I'm so sorry. How can I help? What can I do to help? I would never do that to you because I'm a good person. And it would be, oh, you are the victim, and I feel so sorry for you. And like I said, a blue pilled individual would soak that up emotionally and would only be able to see that instance from the point of view of the person who's telling it, is the point I'm trying to make. Now, a red pilled individual who understands the psychology of women and who understands the psychology of people in general, and how people can be two-faced, and how people are not always genuine. People can be very disingenuous, and people can give you a sort of a warped perspective on events in order to suit their own narrative and suit their own agenda. A red pill individual would understand this, and a red pilled individual, rather than getting emotional and jumping into the conversation head first, they would ask this person, well, what did you do to him? If you got attacked by your boyfriend, or you got attacked by your partner, and your partner laid a beating on you, what were the chain of events that led to that happening? What was the motive? Why did it happen? They wouldn't just say, oh, woe is you. Woe is you. You're the victim. So sad. I feel so sorry for you. No, a red pill individual would want more context. A red pill individual would be like, hang on a second. Tell me the full story. I don't want to know what happened in that precise moment where there was an outburst and you got attacked. I want to know what led up to it. I want to know what you did to provoke that attack, and whether or not you did anything to provoke that attack. You could have been totally innocent in the matter, but a red pill individual would view that with skepticism. Like if a woman says, "Oh, he savagely beat the crap out of me, and I did nothing. I did nothing to deserve it, and I did nothing to provoke it. I was totally innocent in the matter." A red pill individual with a bit of common sense would would naturally view that with skepticism, wouldn't they? Whereas a blue pill individual would totally believe them at face value. They really would. Red pill individual would be able to read between the lines and would be able to discern whether or not that person is being disingenuous or whether they're being genuine. So those are just a couple of examples. I mean, like, say you're with a woman and she's a single mother, and again I use this as an example because this is I'm going off my own experiences of what I've observed from the culture around me, from where I live and from society and from what people in communities that I've lived in tend to be like and how people in these communities tend to behave. And say you're with a single mother and then that single mother will tell you, "Oh, yeah, I'm raising this child on my own because the father is a piece of shit. The father's a deadbeat. He's a bad person. He's useless. He's immature." And a blue-pilled individual again would listen to that and they would say, "Oh yeah, that's great. You got out of it and you're doing great. You're looking after the child yourself. Yeah, fuck him. He's a bad guy. Blah blah blah." And would again take your word for it and would soak it all up and allow themselves to be emotionally invested in what's going on. A red pilled individual, on the other hand, would again they would stop, they would think, they would be like, hang on a second. If this person that you were with, the father of your child, was such a bad person, and he was such a scumbag and such an immature prick and so useless, why did you have unprotected sex with him? I mean that reflects badly on you, right? You had unprotected sex with this degenerate individual, so that reflects badly on you. Have you got a response to that? That would be what a red-pilled individual would say or do in that situation. A red-pilled individual would read between the lines, and they would realize that there's two sides to this story, and maybe this individual who is in front of your face isn't being genuine. Maybe this individual is twisting things to suit their own narrative. That's what it means to be red pill. What it means to be red pill is to have the wisdom, not necessarily the knowledge or just intelligence, but the wisdom to understand when you're being lied to or when you're being sold something. Like if you have a salesman at your door who, shows you, that they're trying to get you inducted into a charity, and they show you these pictures of starving kids or animals or whatnot trying to tug at your heartstrings, and they say, oh yeah, you donating money can help stop this. You donating some money can help put a stop to what's going on here. And you would, a blue pill person again would get emotional. They would hand over everything they've got and say, yes, please, I'm making a difference. A red pill individual, a guy who's a little bit more wise, a little bit more wisdom, would say, well, where is my money going to go? Like if I put my money, assuming I wanted to contribute to this, where would my money be going? Who would be organizing the funds? How much of a percentage of that money is going to go into your wages and not into the charity itself? A red-pilled individual would be able to discern when there's some sort of skullduggery going on, is what I'm trying to say. And this video's gone on way too long. It's gone on a lot longer than I intended it to, but I thought it was an interesting thing to talk about, just something I thought I'd put out there. So yeah, let me know what you guys think anyway. And yeah, that's what it means to be red pilled. It means being able to discern the truth and not being not being in a state of consciousness where you're easily manipulated by tugging at your heartstrings and your emotions, being able to be stoic and being able to be rational. That's what I think it means to be red pilled, to be intelligent and be smart and be able to figure things out for yourself. So let me know what you guys think anyway. And yeah, thanks for watching and God bless.